Divine them was burning circles around me because I was over here painting stuff. You ain't gonna never do nothing with that painting stuff, Malcolm. You know, I'm gonna paint like Divine said. I've been painting and painting and painting. But my vision, my idea, my successful mindset was bigger than my environment. So one of the things I had to realize is that it wasn't Divine's responsibility. It wasn't nobody else's responsibility to think about success or to find success but mine. So once we take that harder route is it's going to be a little harder, like you were saying. Man, how do you go through that transition when it's a drought? How do you go through that transition when the money ain't there like it used to be? How do you go through that transition when you feel alone? Because guess what? Finding and working on your passion is one of the hardest things that you're going to have to go through in your life. It's one of the loneliest places that you're going to find yourself. And a lot of people run from that loneliness. But what you got to do is learn how to embrace it. You ever meet people who jump in and out of relationships? They just got done with a relationship and they don't want to be alone. So they jump right back into another relationship and it's the same cycle all over again. And when you ask them like, dude, why are you in this relationship? It's always the same question. I don't want to be by myself. But a lot of times being by yourself is the tool that you need to be able to take you over that journey. Go ahead and go to the next one. These are some testimonies from some of my coaching students. This guy lives up in St. Louis. He drives over 2 hours to come down a couple times a week to come take some personal coaching from me. It's a funny story. He started watching me on Facebook Live. Works at a ice cream factory. And real passion was building things with his hands. Had 3 kids, every day working nonstop, 3rd-hour shifts, doing the overtime to be able to take care of his kids, but was dying with inside. His wife contacted me and said, my husband, it was Mother's Day, and I do an Artist Success Sundays, and he was watching me on a Mother's Day event. You know, they was having a family event. He stops the Mother's Day event to watch my Facebook Live feed. And one of the things that he shared with me was nobody ever taught him that he had true value within inside himself. He always thought that building things with his hands was just a hobby. And we had to show him how to be able to overcome some of the obstacles because people told him he wasn't good enough. And that's some of the things that we got to deal with. So we talked about overcoming one obstacle at a time. Keep on going. Only compete with yourself. Study great people. We talked about focus. And at the bottom of that, I was telling y'all about, the thing that I got to say to myself. Page 27. Every day I say to myself, like Aunt Betty say, son, you got to stay focused. You got to stay focused. So when you wake up in the morning, that's what I tell myself. Stay focused. 4 principles I use in my life to help keep me focused. 1, keep your vision to yourself. A lot of times you give your power away by sharing it with other people and you expect them to have the same inspiration or fulfillment that you feel. That ain't their dream, that's your dream. Keep your vision to yourself only with like-minded individuals. People who gonna pour into you and believe into you. 2, find a working environment. For me, I'm a creative individual. I like to have multiple areas where I can work. I got a studio where I can do my paintings. I got a home office. I got a regular office. Sometimes I just grab my laptop and go to the university or go to Starbucks or something like this. Find a working environment, and sometimes that working environment is flexible. Sometimes we spend so much time on trying to get the office and we thinking that the office is the key, and that ain't the key. That might just be somewhere you meet clients at. But then you go over here to do your studying over here. Number 3, Focus in on your objective or end results. The end result is the only thing that matters. We get so caught up on the process, the pitfalls, the problems, the person that told you that you couldn't do it, the issue, the boss, all the issues. We get so wrapped up in that we don't even pay attention to the bigger picture. The end result is yeah, I'm going to grind out for like 4 to 5 months to put this conference together because I want people to come, and this is what I want them to be able to learn. And this is how I'm going to pour into other people. 4, we talked about this. Find your why in everything you do. Your why, your reason for you pushing, your reason for you, sometimes we can't do it for ourselves. For me, I couldn't do it for myself. I needed my daughter. I needed my father. I need people around me that keep me focused in on my why. All right, we talked about the boot camp conference coming up, the book camp, as we say. It's going to be incredible. So if you want to learn how to write your book, you got an incredible message to be able to share with the world, you need to be here. We're going to go to page 31. I'm going to kind of roll through this a little fast, y'all, because I want to make sure everybody get this information. 31, value. A person's principles or standards of behavior. I got a good student of mine. He is a university teacher. And he sent me an email, and he told me, he said, Malcolm, I just read something about having your core values. And I said, what do you mean? He said your core values, like what do you stand for? What are you willing not to jeopardize or sacrifice? You got to have your values, because guess what? Every deal ain't a good deal. People going to be bringing you deals. People going to want to do business with you. People going to want to be in relationships with you. And they don't have the same standards as you. So a lot of times it's easier for us to lower our standards for other people. If you keep your standards and your value high, it's going to attract high quality people. You keep your values and your quality, your people around you, and your values and your value standards low, you're going to attract low end people. You keep your values high. The same thing when you're talking about in business. One's judgment of what is important in life. So, tonight when you guys are sitting in your hotel room, when you're trying to figure out where do I go from here, what's the next level, what do I do with all this information? One of the things that I want you guys to do is figure out what's your core standards, what's your core values. What are some things in your life that you just ain't going to sacrifice or jeopardize? Because when you understand that, then you realize that when things come into your life, and it might be fool's gold, I call it fool's gold. It might look good, but it don't align up with all. You can make an excuse. It just don't really align up, but if I tweak it just a little bit, I think I could. And it ain't got nothing to do with you. That ain't even your style. You know what I mean? So we want to be able to make sure that your values, and that's how you got to do. You got to judge it. And it's built around the lifestyle. You can't be around people who got different lifestyles than you. You talking about you want to build greatness, meaning you hanging around a whole lot of people that smoking weed, getting high all day. All right. Huh? Your goals and your values being aligned? The values go first. They go first? The values go first because the values give you understanding. See, like, you can create goals. People create goals all the time. I'm going to make 6 figures in 6 months, right? But without that value, how you going to make it? What, you going to sell drugs? It keeps you on the sense of standards. So when you understand your value, the value gives you, when you have that question in your mind, should I go left or should I go right? When you don't know, man, where should I go? You asking people for advice, and you're like, should I do this or should I do that? Instead of going external, the values help you go internal. So you say, okay, does this align up with my values? Does this person, does this business deal, does this relationship align up with my personal values? No. I learned that from a good friend, A.R.T. Thomas. I went to one of his conferences, and that's one of the things I asked him specifically. You got a question? Any questions? Any concerns? No? Okay. This is one of my great mentors. If you guys get a chance, look this brother up. His name is Chika Akua. He's a world renowned author, speaker. And one of the things that I realized is that he was one of the first people to tell me to understand my value, be consistent with my value, understand what I bring into the table, understanding who I am. All right, so we talked about values. We're going to go past 33. I love this quote right here, 34. I read this in one of Jay-Z's books. I was forced to be an artist and a CEO from the beginning. So I was forced to be like a businessman because when I was trying to get a record deal, it was so hard to get a record deal on my own that it was either give up or create my own company. See, like when you out there and you got your values together, and when you on the low end, like for me, for instance, I took this philosophy of hip hop and created it in my company. When I first produced my first book, when I first produced my first airbrush DVD, I sent that thing all across the world trying to get distribution. And nobody called me back. So I looked at it hip hop. I said, how can I do this independently? And I said, I'm going to sell them on eBay and start my own distribution. Because if I start on my own distribution, it's going to be a little bit slower. Where the other way in, I might do a deal and sell 300-400 DVDs at one time. This is a slower pace. You know, slow money is better than no money. It was $20 here, $15 here, $10 here, $5 here. But what happened is, where everybody else was hunting, trying to get to 200 people, I was just focusing on one client at a time. And it gave me the residual. So now every time that I put out a new product, I ain't got to go fishing everybody else's pond. I done created my own pond because I done created my own database of customers. So that's how you got to be thinking. That's how you got to be looking at things. You always have to look at how to take yourself out of the equation physically, because God forbid something happened to us. I had to realize that God forbid something happened to my hand and I can't paint no more. Malcolm, how you going to send your daughter to college? But if I write it, get it out of my head, put it in a book. Residual income. What we doing right now with this video, we creating product. This is product. Because one day I ain't going to be able to be up on this stage. I physically just ain't going to be able to do it. But with the residual income and the products and looking at it from a mentality like that and understanding your true value and knowing how to package that value, you can't never lose. It's investing in yourself. You can't never lose. You invested with corporate America, you working for a 9-to-5 job, you ain't investing in yourself. So you always going to lose. You always looking for what they going to give you. A pension, a little extra this, you know what I'm saying, this and that. I love that quote Jay-Z was saying. 35, page 35. You must force yourself to change and adapt accordingly. You got to change consistently. It's like being a chameleon. You got to constantly be on the cutting edge. You can't never get comfortable, because guess what? It's another Papers that's just as hungry as you, even more hungry. It's another Famey that's just as hungry as you, even more hungry. So you got to always understand that the only way to be able to grow, because let me tell you, I had to outwork my competitors. I had to outwork them. I didn't have enough money. They had more money than me. They had more resources. They knew more people than me. So I had to outwork him, and the only way that I was able to outwork him was to change. I moved like that. Devon said, man, I have an idea. I'm moving on it immediately. Everybody else talking about what they go. Man, I already got the flyer done. The flyer's done. I didn't put it in PayPal. I go start doing pre-orders tomorrow. That's how you got to move, because the universe loves energy, change, momentum. Stagnation is death. You got to constantly keep changing and adapting and being around other people who are doing the same. Because if you're around people who stagnated, you're going to be stagnated. You know, still